Viva Sanko, viva!
Viva!
Long live the undying spirit of Chris Hani, long live.
Long live!
Forward to the unity of the NUM, forward.
Forward!
Forward to the progressive strategic planning of the NUM, forward.
Forward!
Chair, thanks. I feel empty when the ANC has left. I feel empty when the leader of the alliance has left, but apologies was made. Let's greet the president in his absentia, the chair of the region, together with the collective office bearers, the Young Communist League, led by Comrade Memela, PC members of the party, Cde Mamiki, the Provincial Secretary of COSATU, who has rejoined, the NUM youth that is present here, led by its provincial chairperson and the secretary. And all of you, comrades, hello. Our input will try to make it as short as possible, comrades. We are going to deal with an eminent matter that is facing the sector of the NUM in this conjuncture, comrades. The question of unbundling of ESCOM transitional phase, which is an important battle that we must wage against. But we must put a disclaimer, comrades, that the South African Communist Party completely is opposed to unbundling of this. And we will categorically provide the basis for the party position, both politically, economically, and also social implications of that decision. We must understand, as the NUM leadership has directed the party to provide a perspective on this matter, we must understand ESCOM as a national property, which belongs to the total population, mainly the working class, which does not belong to the elite or the certain sections of bourgeoisie or endless people that have an appetite to steal. The national property in its current conjuncture. And that is why, comrades, we need to oppose any form of an effort led by the state president to remove people's property from them to be in the hands of the few. We need to be fundamentally opposed. We need to be opposed that even those that are part of us, when they do wrong, they must know they are doing wrong. They are building a monumental legacy that is going to leave the people in this country poor, unemployed, and unequal. And we must be opposed to that. And the South African Communist Party appreciate the endless efforts by the National Union of Mineworkers to fight this battle. We welcome that. And the Communist Party puts it up front that we will be with the NUM. As we have already on this matter, the party has taken a position that we are opposed to the unbundling of ESCOM. We are opposed. We are opposed to any efforts that seek to take people's property to be put in the private hands. The same thing that we are doing here, it's no different from what America has done to Venezuela, where imperialist forces enter the country with the major and the only purpose to steal the property that belongs to the people. So unbundling of ESCOM must be understood in that context. And we must be ready to defend what is people's property with our lives. ESCOM provides basic services to majority of the poor people. So if you steal that instrument, that state instrument, that public property from the state, you are going to deny majority who are the working class, Africans in particular, but in the main, women who are leading poor families into shadows of poverty. So we must understand unbundling of ESCOM as a neoliberal agenda that seeks to weaken the state, comrades. And we must confront it as such. Neoliberalism in its own agenda, comrades, in its substance is to weaken the state by privatizing its properties or its assets. So when you weaken the state, you are literally saying majority of those that are vulnerable, which in the South African context are the African people, are the women, are the poor, they must be on their own. And this is what unbundling, comrades, seeks to achieve. What is going to be the impact of privatizing ESCOM? Is that electricity is going to be in the private hands, and not just private hands, but those that are politically connected to the ruling political elite, firstly, but those that are also connected to the multinational companies and corporations. That's what unbundling is going to be. And because of their historical capacity as multinational corporations, they will have capacity to generate revenue from this country, and that revenue, comrades, will not be used in the benefit and the advancement of the South African working class. And this will be a direct attack on the public sector or on the government that seeks to advance the interest of the poor. NUM is opposed to this agenda, and the Communist Party supports it. We are not going to allow the current compradorial bourgeoisie and the lumpen bourgeoisie to advance their own selfish, narrow interests in expense of the entire population. The movement today is in the hands of compradorial bourgeoisie. And we'll simplify it for comrades to understand. The movement is in the hands of the lumpen bourgeoisie. These are the elements, comrades, that are at the helm. The leadership of the ANC says they are part of us. They are part of us in the movement. The compradorial interest in the movement, it is to ensure that the movement is used to advance its own interests in expense of everyone and everything. It is those that are leading the movement today and those that are at the helm of the state. Madanga Commission and all other commissions are a reflection of compradorial interests that are failing the state. And at the head and the helm of that compradorial interest, it's mafias in our movement. Comrade Opa, or they are criminals. So it is a full appreciation that the movement is currently in the hands of mafias. The movement it can't be able to provide its revolutionary responsibility on behalf of all people of South Africa. Because it is entangled in the hands and in the interests of compradorial bourgeoisie. The interest of capitalism, comrades, will never be advanced out of honesty, out of pure religion, out of love. The interest of capitalism, comrades, they survive on greediness and corruption. They never survive on honesty, because what capitalism does, these limited resources that every nation has, it wants to amass themselves to them. And for you to amass what does not belong to you, it's either you are pushed by an appetite of greediness, and for you to attain that, you must be ruthless. And that's what informs the current polarization and loss of dominance by the Western imperialist forces. So what you see in Iran is a full appreciation that capitalism is digging its own grave. For it to survive, it must survive on wars. If you listen to the tone of a capitalist representative in the form of a president of America, you sense a system that does not value the lives. The system that celebrates the death of a particular leader. The system that appreciates kidnapping. The system that is prepared to kill millions in an advancement of its narrow interests. That reality in Iran, that reality in Venezuela, it's not disconnected from the South African struggles. And what then becomes the response of the working class? This is what must inform the strategic thinking of the National Union of Mineworkers. Nothing else, nothing more. And that is why it is important, comrades, to appreciate that the neoliberal agenda, it exists to weaken the state. It exists to ignore, exploit, marginalize, and destroy the working class communities. The multinational corporations have no interest about the African state and its people. Their interest is to experience high capital outflows without being detected in those countries, meaning the resources that will be extracted out of this country will not be used for the development, for the social conditions of people of South Africa. The purpose of these compradorial interests, the neoliberal agenda, it will exist, comrades, to weaken the democratic state where they exploit the mineral resources, deepen poverty and inequality. So, for us today, we speak about inequality, poverty, and unemployment as if there are some economic and social conditions that come from elsewhere. They were created by those who have an appetite to it. For unemployment to sharply skyrocket in South Africa is not because we are a bad country. It's precisely because the leadership that must take responsibility to change the lives of our people, change the lives of themselves. And we call them leadership. They are part of us. When they speak anything that is opposed to the interest of the working class. When they speak, they are opposed to anything that represents the working class. When they speak, they compartmentalize revolution. When they speak, revolutionaries must not interact. When they speak, Communist Party must be a desk. The party contesting elections, comrade, is not about itself. The NUM is a working class organization. The NUM can be neutral on a class struggle. Comrades, the reason why the NUM is preparing a massive national march today, it is precisely because the NUM is a working class formation that is opposed to capitalism. NUM is an anti-capitalist trade union movement of the revolution. There is nothing that the NUM will oppose as long as it advances the interest of the working class. Why, when the Communist Party says the voice and the conditions of the working class are marginalized, NUM will be found wanting on this matter? The Communist Party is not going for its own. Our relationship in the movement has always been to advance the interest of the working class. What then the Communist Party must do when the working class interests are marginalized in the advancement of compradorial bourgeoisie interests? The Communist Party must continue to clap hands. We say that 1% is the voice of the working class, and we appreciate it. That 1%, in the next round it will be 2%. The working class voice will be heard. It has nothing to do with certain political parties. The interest of the party, and that is why the Communist Party cooperates, is organizing the conference of the left. Those that advances the interest of the left must meet and chart the way forward under the leadership of the Communist Party to chart the way forward for the conditions of the working class to change. That's the duty of the party. It has nothing to do with partisan politics. Ours is about the conditions of the class. That's the work of the party. We met PAC as the party. We'll meet all working class organizations because the conditions of the working class do not have partisan limitations. A poor person or mufumana in every political party. A poor person or mufumana in any religious church. A poor person or mufumana in stock fence. A poor person or mufumana in taxi rank. A poor person or mufumana in school. You get poor people everywhere because the system of capitalism in South Africa reproduces poverty, unemployment, and inequality. What must be the response of the Communist Party? What must the Communist Party do when more people are subjected to poverty? What must the Communist Party do when only the tiny few have access to medical aids? When unbundlement comes in, you will lose those medical aids. When unbundlement of ESCOM comes in, you will lose those salaries. When unbundlement comes in, you will lose that housing subsidy. When unbundlement comes in, you will lose that car allowance. When unbundlement comes in, your kids will lose their schools. We must fight the question of unbundling ESCOM as a class struggle, not just as a political struggle. We must deal with this matter as a political and ideological aspect. It's not an act of accident. The chairperson of the region, Ori Horuna Hussein, in the meeting before this one, we met with the senior leadership of ESCOM. That's what you said. The president of the state announces what even the bureaucrats in that sector do not know. Whose interests are we representing? Whom are we representing, honestly? We can't advance our bank accounts in expense of our motherland. We can't. We can't advance our interest. NUM is becoming weak today because of policy decisions that have been taken by the movement. Because as revolutionary forces, you must advance what the movement stands for. You advance what the movement stands for. But the action of the movement in the state is an opposite of what we stand for. It's an opposite of what we go to people and campaign for people to vote for movement to advance the fundamental transformation and transfer of resources in this country. People are becoming billionaires. We can't be the country that produces billionaires while unemployment and poverty are skyrocketing. We can't be proud that we are producing billionaires, millionaires. We must be proud that we are eliminating poverty. We must be proud that every house is employed. We must be proud that every person is part of the productive forces of this country. That is what we must be proud of. We can't be the revolutionary forces celebrate the production of billionaires and billionaires. While more than 10 million people go to bed hungry every day. While 80% of your salaries is shared with your families. While 80% of your salaries pays policies, funeral policies, pay insurance, pay bonds, pay car installments, pay school fees. You work for expense. That is the condition that we are subjected to. What happens when you are now going to be retrenched in few years to come? We must fight this as a political battle, as a class battle. We can't afford the conditions of the working class to go down. Creation of unemployment is a deliberate outcome of the system of bourgeoisie and capitalism, led by the compradorial bourgeoisie and also the lumpen bourgeoisie in our country. The private profits, comrades, have nothing to do with the people. It has nothing to do, profits have nothing to do with the poor and the workers. Profits in their own nature, they exist to reduce the conditions, the social conditions and the economic conditions of the working class. To strengthen the state as a class machinery, that must be our responsibility. We need a strong, capable and independent state that seeks to advance the interests of the most marginalized people, being the Africans, the women, the workers and the poor. That must be our responsibility. We must build this state. When the state is gone, comrades, when the state is gone, all what you think are the rights today will be gone. All what you think are the sources of survival today will be gone. We can't afford that under our nose, the democratic state is going to be eliminated. And as a result, comrades, health, electricity and water that are provided by the state, we must understand them as a basic need that must only be in the hands of the state, among others. They are the basic needs. They are the basic needs. They are not the luxury needs. They are the basic needs that must be in the hands of the state. Not just a state. A democratic state that have been fought to exist. Basic needs must be provided by the state. Basic needs will never and anywhere in the world have ever been provided by the profit interests. Basic needs must be provided by the state. Nothing else, nothing more. And as a result, comrades, this must be taken as a political and ideological battle. This must be taken as a political and class struggle. It must be waged by you. It must be waged by the working class. Economic and social conditions of the working class are under siege. Your conditions, comrades, conditions of our women out there who are unemployed, conditions of child-headed families that are out there, conditions of the workers of the mines that are dying on a daily basis in the industries that they are working under, they are under attack. And this means job losses are going to rise, collective bargaining agreements are going to be undermined, their economic conditions are going to worsen. And that is why government, if needs be, if our government have become a complete representative of multinational corporations, if our government have become a representative of bourgeoisie interests unapologetically, let the working class rise. Let's take this government to court. This is not the government that we signed a deal with. This is not the leadership that we signed a deal with. Let's take our own Donald Trumps here to court. And I think that is why it is important, comrades, as we move towards closure, that the role of the movement was to address in the main the working class interests. So for the ANC comrades to be working class biasness, it did not come out of voluntarism. It did not come out of option. For ANC government in 1994 or ANC-led alliance in 1992 to build houses was not an act of an error, was not an act of an accident. For private healthcare to be free from 1994 was not an act of error. For our kids to have NSFASs today was not an act of an error. For us to have social grants today was not an act of error. Those were the deliberate political positions that the collective movement agreed that we will die for when we enter the democratic state. Our people will never be marginalized. That is what we set the bar very high in this country and in this continent. And anyone who seeks to reverse those benefits and those gains on behalf of the masses, we must reject and isolate them, including those that are coming from us. Because if they do them from us, they have long left us. Over Tibela. When you abandon ESCOM, when you steal ESCOM under your stewardship, you have long left the movement. Mr. Geratamoyeta, when we discuss these issues, we assume some of them are still with us. Because they are wearing our regalia, because they have our own language, because they have our own history, share the same common history. We still assume a revolutionary yesterday remains a revolutionary tomorrow. Science if there is anything that is constant, it's change itself. We have lost that. What has been our movement of revolution has now been presided over by the criminal mafias of this country. We have nothing to defend mafias. Nothing. No one can speak on issue of Matanga Commission. No one can speak from our ranks. Because we are watching how mafias have controlled this state. If the security cluster can be compromised to this degree, what about the rest of non-security organs? The role of the movement has always been to be at the center of class development, to be at the center of class struggle. That's how we have shaped the movement to be. For the movement to be a broad church today, it has been shaped, Comrade Opa correctly says, the role of the party and other progressive liberation forces have shaped the ANC to be what it is in terms of its class orientation. To provide leadership in terms of class outlook. And that has been the task that the party has constantly provided in the leadership of the ANC. And that is why the ANC hates the alliance, because it has a responsibility to advance, to manage the class contradictions between the left and the right. But when the leadership and the ANC effectively moves to the right, what must be the role and the responsibility of the party? When subjectively, when completely, when unilaterally, when unapologetically, the movement shifts to the right, what must be the response of the party? When forces in leadership of the movement align with mafias and criminals and use the movement to advance that interest, what must be the response of the working class in South Africa? What must be the response of the NUM? You know, what moment we say our government has undermined collective bargaining agreements? I guess. But at the same time, we want to act neutral when the class is under siege. Oh, but like you go away. Chair. Oh, you want like enough? Oh, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Let me move to us. On a lighter note, Chair. The ownership patterns, comrades, are still mainly untransformed and not transferred to the majority of our people. Monopoly capital has been strengthened in industries such as the banks. Monopoly capital has been strengthened in other different sectors. The social ills such as unemployment, poverty, and inequality have risen. And these, comrades, are the outcomes of the impact and the coexistence of capitalism. Shift from focus on class struggles facing the working class issues. It leaves the Communist Party and the rest of the revolutionary forces no other options but to unite and advance the interests of the working class. What must be the role, Chair, as I conclude, of the party in the current conjuncture working with the NUM? We must build, comrades, a left popular front. The Communist Party is going ahead. The Nepezeli Liboni, you are going to see more. I guess others have went in secret engagements with DA and Freedom Front. We call it Conference of the Left. And in the Conference of the Left, what is going to unite us is the working class conditions that we must respond to. It has nothing to do with partisan. I know there are those that are viewing the party position as a program for elections. We are only oiling our machinery. Conference of the Left has nothing to do with elections. But if it adds the credibility of the party, so let it be. But Conference of the Left will include all liberation forces, which the underlying unity force element will be the unity of the working class. We must build the left and the popular fronts. In the Conference of the Left, we must say it here. It's not only the political parties that we are going to meet. We have met with traditional leaders. We have met with leaders of hostels. We are going to meet different organizations that, in our view, including community organizations. We have met the organizations of the unemployed graduates. We are going to meet all the working class communities in this country. We are going to form, we are going to the Conference of the Left, and the Communist Party must provide leadership and guidance in that. EFF is part of Conference of the Left. ANC is part of Conference of the Left. COSAD is part of Conference of the Left. They will never tell you. Because the purpose is to discredit the Communist Party. The Communist Party's responsibility, it is far beyond just electoral contestation. The Communist Party's responsibility is to construct a socialist South Africa and ultimately a capitalist South Africa, a communist South Africa. My high apologies. Our responsibility is to construct a classless society. Caution from the unilateral posture of the movement on its political stance and inward looking. Our movement has become so inward. Our worker conference, there is nothing to do with program, there is nothing to do with policy. We speak about one thing, leadership. We speak about people who are creating a problem for us. The Communist Party has a responsibility, comrades, as part of its task. It is to build a strong socialist movement. We must build internal capacity of the party, both politically and ideologically. The NUM must be part of that struggle. We must build the structures of the party and that of the Young Communist League and the rest of the movement. Ours is to build socialist blocs. We have a program that is coming in our province next month. It will be intervention. Chair, we have spoken about this issue, the People's Red Caravan. In the People's Red Caravan, comrades, it is the party program. It is not the party ownership. It is the party program where the party, together with communities, build sustainable development among themselves, addressing the issue of hunger, addressing the issue of securities, you name them. The People's Red Caravan, it is the model that the NUM must adopt in your strategic planning. It is going to be the program that is going to run throughout the province. It's going to be launched by the General Secretary in Tabanj. And after that, the Provincial Secretary will launch it. And all other district secretaries will launch it. And we will want the NUM to actively participate. as part of this program. And part of this program, it is to fight the capitalist interest. We must build the socialist movement. Conference of the Left is part of that program. All forces, including ANC and COSATU, have indicated they are going to be part of this. Forward to NUM, forward. Down to ESCOM unbundling, down. Down to compradorial bourgeoisie, down. Down to the lumpen bourgeoisie, down. Down to the mafias in our movement and our state, down. Forward to the working class, forward. Amandla, Amandla, away to, Amandla.